All right, warriors, welcome to day 13 of the Daily Warrior Ritual Challenge. So, today is going to be about continue implementing your new daily routine. And I want to talk more about whatever plans that you created, like on day two. And, let's further our implementing of our plan when it comes to what it is that we wrote on day two. And I want to start by talking about start small and build gradually. And sometimes it's okay to start with 1 to 2 new habits. So sometimes maybe two habits may gear towards one goal. It depends on what it is that you're working on. It truly really is up to you how fast it is that you believe that you should complete it. Sometimes it does take time for certain things to be completed. And sometimes our life will show us that sometimes we need to instead of trying to always get that gratification, we need to just more focus on the process so we can learn from the journey and not necessarily always look for the rewards that comes with certain things. Of course, being rewarded is great, but that's not the end all be all, and that's not real life. So I'll also say gradually increase the number of new habits or tasks as you become more comfortable and confident. So, that's pretty self-explanatory right there. Just gradually, don't force yourself. If you feel like you could take on a little more, do it at your own speed and do what feels right. So if two habits are not enough, maybe you need an extra one moving forward, and that's fine. But don't overdo it, especially when you're creating something new, because eventually you could create some fatigue. Some, what is that? Like some fatigue as far as new, creating new desires can fatigue you in potentially wanting to move forward, especially if you're not working on whatever is your root issues with anything that you're working on right now. Focus on building a strong foundation with the basics before adding in more complex tasks. So that's pretty self-explanatory in of itself. So if you need help with foundational, creating something that's more foundational and basic, you could just type it in and put it into Google, like foundations needed to build strong routines. And sometimes either search it on Google or you could search it on YouTube. There's many things that you could utilize that could potentially be helpful, and just like shop around until you start seeing things that make sense. And sometimes we may not see it right away, but then eventually the answers come to us, maybe because we weren't meant to see it right away. So don't beat yourself up if you don't find the answers you need right away. Sometimes, life gives us the answers we need when we need it. And we're not always going to get the answers we expect just because we have Google. Um, don't be afraid to take breaks or adjust your pace as needed. So some days you may speed through certain tasks, other days it'll be more, maybe slower at times. It depends. Each day, take it day by day. Never assume the day that you were the fastest will be the same as your next day. And it's okay to take a break from some of these tasks if you're performing them every day. Give yourself a breather and also give yourself time to examine where you're currently at so you could still move forward and celebrate small victories along the way to stay motivated. You know, every little victory matter, and I definitely I believe that if you're part of this challenge, you should definitely create a folder in your phone or some type of folder of like, I did that, like something along the lines of where you could tap into and watch yourself and see where it is that you are in command of your life, and you may not always have it all figured out at once, but sometimes we need that reminder that we may not always have it figured out, but it's okay as long as we are secure in ourselves and we are creating security within ourselves first instead of seeking security from others. And that's what's going to actually build towards our self confidence. And with each time we build that self confidence, we're building a reservoir of untapped potential just from building our own self confidence to move forward, even if it's something that we may not be sure of. You know what? At least you could say, I may not understand what it is that I'm doing today. And you could be vulnerable with people with certain things like that. But and be like, you know what, but I'm willing and open to learn. I never claim to know everything, and I'm okay with that. And I'm confident in myself that I could figure out anything that's put in my path. And lastly, remember that progress takes time and consistency is key. So be patient and keep working towards your goals. Um, there's no, there really is no finish line. Um, so just stay constant, be show up for yourself, even if you don't feel like showing up, even if it takes 5 minutes. And you're like, you know what, I ain't feel like doing nothing today. At least you showed up to put that in. Because sometimes that's how some days happen. You just don't feel like showing up. And we still show up because when we show up in ourselves, we start to create the foundations of what it is that we expect others to do as well. And we start, when you start respecting yourself, even if it's something as small as creating a schedule of every day showing up for yourself, at least you're doing what it is that you set out to do, regardless of if you showed up to do the full ritual or not. At least you showed up. Show up. Express why you didn't feel like showing up. Express those things. And, you know, and that's also a part of boosting your ego. And that not boosting your ego, your self esteem. Boosting your self esteem and boosting that and becoming more respectable and respectful to yourself. And when you show up for yourself, you start creating the foundations of how you want people to show up for you and your expectations of others. You should have a higher expectation of yourself, but you should definitely still have expectations of others on how they should treat you moving forward, especially if you're not letting yourself create excuses of why you can't do something. You should still, I believe you should also hold others accountable for their actions as well, especially if you're showing up. So it's really important. So, anyway, I hope this was helpful. Um, Reestablish those plans. It's okay to go back, it's okay to slow down. Just, you know, reestablish certain things when it comes to your your goals and your routines. And I'll speak to you all on day 14 of the Daily Warrior Ritual Challenge. Love thyself, know thyself. Take care.